The morning sun never rose on New Busan colony. Instead, dark shapes covered the sky like angry clouds. But these clouds had teeth and claws. Ji-won ran through the burning streets, her uniform torn and bloody. Behind her, the screams of her people filled the air. The Kethrak monsters were everywhere, tearing apart everything humans had built on this peaceful world. "Commander!" Minho called out from behind a broken wall. The young engineer held a small child in his arms. "The defense grid is down. All of it." Ji-won's heart sank. 20 years of building, 20 years of making this world home, and now it was all burning. She looked at the scared faces around her. Yuna, the colony's doctor, was helping wounded people. Do-hyun, just a farmer yesterday, now held a rifle with shaking hands. "We need to get to the shuttle bay," Ji-won said. "It's our only way out." They moved through the ruins of their town. The Kethrak had come without warning. These alien creatures looked like giant insects with metal parts added to their bodies. They killed everything they found. Men, women, children, it didn't matter to them. The shuttle bay was a mess. Most ships were destroyed, but one small transport still worked. Ji-won got everyone inside while explosions shook the ground. "Where can we go?" Yuna asked. She was trying to help the wounded, but they had no real medical supplies. "The Galactic Council," Ji-won said. "They have to help us. It's the law." She started the shuttle's engines. Through the window, she could see her world dying. Fires burned everywhere. The Kethrak were loading human prisoners onto their ships. She knew what happened to those prisoners. Everyone in the galaxy knew, but nobody talked about it. The shuttle lifted off just as the colony's main building exploded behind them. Ji-won set course for Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. It would take 3 days to get there. She hoped they had 3 days. During the trip, Ji-won recorded their message for the council. She told them everything. How the Kethrak came like a storm. How they killed everyone they could find. How they took prisoners for their sick games. She begged the council to send help to the other human colonies that were surely under attack too. When they reached Nexus Prime, the great city world looked peaceful. Ships from 100 different alien races moved through the sky. The tall towers sparkled in the sunlight. It was hard to believe that somewhere humans were dying while these aliens lived their comfortable lives. Ambassador Hyunwoo met them at the spaceport. He was an older man who had worked with aliens for many years. His face was grave when he saw the survivors. "How bad is it?" he asked. "New Busan is gone," Ji-won said. 7,000 people, dead or taken. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. "The council is meeting now. I've been trying to get their attention all day, but they keep saying they need more information." They went to the Great Council chamber. It was a huge round room where representatives from all the galaxy's major species sat. At the center stood the Vextar Chancellor, a tall insect-like creature with 4 arms and cold black eyes. Hyunwoo stood to speak. "Honored council members, I present Commander Ji-won of New Busan Colony. She has urgent news about the Kethrak attacks." Ji-won walked to the center of the room. All around her, alien eyes stared down. Some looked curious, others looked bored. A few looked annoyed that their day was being interrupted. "The Kethrak swarm attacked our colony without warning," she said. "They killed everyone they could find. They took prisoners. Right now, they are probably attacking other human worlds. We need military help immediately." The Chancellor's translator device made clicking sounds as he spoke. "Commander, the Council appreciates your situation. However, we must consider many factors before taking military action." "Factors?" Ji-won felt anger rise in her chest. "People are dying." "Indeed," said another alien representative. This one, looking like a tall bird. "But the Kethrak are a recognized species under galactic law. We cannot simply attack them without proper legal procedures." Ji-won stared at them. "Legal procedures? They're murdering civilians." The Chancellor waved one of his 4 hands. "The Kethrak claim your species invaded their traditional hunting grounds. They say they are defending their territory." "Hunting grounds?" Hyunwoo stood up, his face red with anger. They're talking about human colonies, about families. Ambassador, please, the Chancellor said. We must remain calm. The Council will review this matter carefully. We will study the legal implications. We will consider all viewpoints. How long will that take? Jiwan asked. These matters require thorough investigation. Perhaps several weeks. Maybe months. Jiwan felt the room spin around her. Months? Do you understand what you're saying? A new voice spoke from across the room. It belonged to a representative from the Altari Union, creatures that looked like living rocks. Perhaps, Chancellor, we should also consider the nature of the species requesting aid. What do you mean? Hyunwoo asked, though his voice showed he already knew. Humans come from what the galaxy calls a death world, the Altari continued. Their planet is violent, dangerous. This violence is part of their nature. Some might say they attract conflict. Other representatives nodded. Jiwan heard whispers around the chamber. Too aggressive. Warlike. Primitive. Dangerous to associate with. The Chancellor raised his hand for silence. The Council recognizes that humans are different from most civilized species. Your aggressive tendencies, while perhaps necessary for survival on your harsh world, make you unsuitable for the same protections we extend to other species. Jiwan couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're saying we don't deserve help because we're human? We're saying, the Chancellor replied, that Deathworld species must solve their own problems. The Council exists to protect peaceful, civilized worlds, not to enable the conflicts that violent species bring upon themselves. Hyunwoo stepped forward. This is not a conflict we started. These are innocent people being slaughtered. The bird-like representative spoke again. Ambassador, surely you understand our position. Humans have only been part of galactic society for 50 years. In that time, how many conflicts have you been involved in? Only when we were attacked, Hyunwoo protested. Yet conflicts seem to follow your species wherever you go, the Chancellor said. Perhaps it is time you learn to handle your own problems without dragging the civilized galaxy into your wars. The chamber erupted in discussion. Most voices seemed to agree with the Chancellor. Jiwan listened to them debate human nature like they were discussing the weather. These aliens, safe in their comfortable towers, decided that human children didn't deserve to live. Finally, the Chancellor called for quiet. The Council has reached its decision. We cannot provide military assistance to the human colonies. This matter falls outside our mandate to protect civilized species. Jiwon felt something break inside her chest. So that's it? We're not worth saving? You are welcome to defend yourselves, the Chancellor said, as your aggressive nature surely allows you to do quite well. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood slowly. His voice was very quiet when he spoke. We formally request immediate Council military assistance. Our colonies are dying. Request denied, the Chancellor said. This session is closed. Later on the refugee ship heading back to human space, Jiwan sat alone in her small cabin. The others were trying to rest, but she couldn't sleep. Outside her window, the stars looked different now. Cold, unfriendly. Her communication device beeped. A message from Earth Command. Status report requested immediately. Jiwan stared at the device for a long time. Then she started typing her response. She told them everything, about New Busan, about the Council's decision, about how the galaxy saw humans as violent animals not worth protecting. At the end, she added one more line. They said no, send word to the fleet. She sent the message and sat back in her chair. The aliens thought humans were dangerous. They thought humans were violent. They were about to learn just how right they were. The stars outside her window suddenly didn't look cold anymore. They looked like targets. The human armada hung in the darkness between stars, 67 ships arranged in perfect formation. They had been traveling for 3 weeks through hyperspace, covering a distance that light itself would take 47 years to cross. Admiral Jae Sung-yoon stood on the bridge of the command ship Busan's Pride, watching the countdown timer that showed their arrival at the alien system. 12 hours remaining. Admiral, called Dr. Sang-ho Jang from the science station. The alien signals are getting much stronger now. We are close enough to analyze them in detail. The past 3 weeks had been busy ones. While the ships traveled through hyperspace, the crews had studied every piece of information they could gather about the aliens who had called for help. What they learned painted a picture of a very different kind of intelligence. "Show me what you have discovered, Doctor," Admiral Yoon requested. Dr. Jang activated the main display screen. Waveforms and data charts filled the space, but underneath them was audio of the alien voices. Even through the static and interference, the desperation was clear. "We call them the Villani," Dr. Yang explained. "That appears to be what they call themselves. They are clearly intelligent, possibly more so than humans in terms of pure mental capacity. But Admiral, they are completely different from us." "How so?" "Their biology, as far as we can determine from their transmissions, suggests they evolved from herbivorous herd animals. They appear to be peaceful by nature. Their mathematics and science are incredibly advanced, but they show no signs of ever developing military technology." Navigator Hye-won Cho looked up from her station. "Doctor, how does a species reach space travel without developing weapons? Human space exploration grew directly out of missile technology." "That is exactly the point, Navigator. They did not follow our path. They appear to have developed space travel purely for exploration and scientific advancement. Their ships are fast and efficient, but they have no armor, no weapons, no defensive systems." Admiral Yoon felt a chill of understanding. They built ships for discovery, not war. What happened when the attackers arrived? Dr. Jang switched to a new display showing intercepted communications between the aliens. "Complete panic, Admiral. They had no idea how to respond to an aggressive force. Their first reaction was to try to communicate, to negotiate. When that failed, they simply tried to run." "And the attackers?" "We call them the Kreks. They appear to be a nomadic species that travels from system to system, taking what they want. Based on the Villani transmissions, the Kreks use primitive but effective weapons: kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, simple energy weapons. Nothing sophisticated, but more than enough to overwhelm peaceful explorers." Tactical Officer Jin-Woo Lee had been studying the enemy ship designs captured from Villani transmissions. "Admiral, the Krek ships are large and heavily built, but their technology is actually inferior to ours. They appear to rely on overwhelming numbers and brute force, rather than advanced tactics or weapons." "How many ships are we facing, Admiral?" Yoon asked. "Current estimates suggest approximately 200 Kreks vessels in the target system, sir. They outnumber us 3-1. Commander Soo-min Kim approached the Admiral with a report from the reconnaissance team. "Sir, we have been analyzing the long-range sensor data as we approach the system. What we are seeing is worse than we initially thought." She activated a 3-dimensional display of the alien star system. Red markers indicated Krek ships, blue markers showed what remained of Villani vessels, and yellow markers represented installations under attack. "The Kreks are not just raiding this system, Admiral. They are systematically stripping it of resources and population. Look at this." She highlighted several planets. Orbital mining platforms around the gas giants, strip mining operations on the asteroid belt, and here, around the 4th planet. The display zoomed in to show a planet surrounded by massive ships. This appears to be their main base of operations. Those large vessels are not warships. They are slave ships. They are taking the Villani population and loading them onto transport vessels. "Where are the transports going?" Admiral Yoon demanded. "Unknown, sir. But based on the traffic patterns, this operation has been going on for months. Thousands, possibly millions of Villani have already been taken." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. This was not a simple raid or invasion. This was systematic enslavement and genocide on an unimaginable scale. "Admiral," Dr. Jang said quietly, "there is something else. The Villani signals contain references to other species, other worlds. The Kreks have done this before. Many times. How many worlds? Admiral Yoon asked, though he dreaded the answer. We estimate at least 40 different species have been mentioned in the Villani transmissions. Sir, this may be how the Kreks operate. They travel from system to system, enslaving entire civilizations. Navigator Cho checked her instruments. Admiral, we are approaching the edge of the system, dropping out of hyperspace in 10 minutes. All ships, battle stations, Admiral Yoon commanded. The order was relayed throughout the fleet. 67 human warships prepared for humanity's first battle against aliens. Captain Mi Young Lim's voice crackled over the communication system from the dreadnought Inchin's Fury. Admiral, my weapons crews are ready. But sir, we are about to engage in combat with a species we have never encountered. We have no idea how they will react to us. Captain, we know exactly how they will react, Admiral Yoon replied. They will try to enslave or destroy us just like they did to the Villani. The difference is that we are not peaceful herbivores from a gentle world. We are humans from Earth, and Earth has taught us how to fight. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the alien system. Immediately, every sensor lit up with contacts. The system was full of ships, stations, and industrial operations on a massive scale. My God, whispered Tactical Officer Lee. Admiral, there are over 300 Kreks vessels in this system. And look at this. He highlighted several enormous ships near the fourth planet. Those vessels are over 10 kilometers long. They are the size of small cities. But what shocked the humans most was the evidence of destruction. Debris fields marked where Villani ships had been destroyed. Several planets showed signs of bombardment. And around the inhabited worlds, the Kreks ships moved in organized patterns like predators herding their prey. Commander Kim pointed to the sensor display. Admiral, we are detecting Villani life signs on those transport ships. They are still taking prisoners. Range to the nearest Kreks vessels? Admiral Yoon asked. 40 million kilometers in closing, Navigator Cho reported. They have detected our arrival. Kreks ships are moving to intercept. Dr. Jang looked up from his station with amazement. Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from the Kreks. They are trying to communicate with us. What are they saying? It appears to be a standard demand for surrender. They want us to power down our weapons and prepare to be boarded. Sir, they think we are just another species to be enslaved. Admiral Yoon looked around at his crew. These men and women represented the best of humanity. Scientists, warriors, explorers, and protectors. They had traveled farther from home than any human in history to help strangers who had cried out for aid. Open a channel to all ships, he commanded. When every captain in the fleet was listening, Admiral Yoon delivered the message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Attention all vessels. We have traveled 47 light years to answer a distress call. We have found systematic slavery and genocide on an unimaginable scale. The Kreks have made one critical mistake. They have assumed that all intelligent species are as helpless as their previous victims. He paused, looking at the tactical display showing hundreds of enemy ships approaching. They are about to learn why Earth is called a death world. They are about to discover what happens when predators meet their apex predator. All ships, weapons free. Show them what humans do to slavers. The first battle between humanity and the galaxy's greatest evil was about to begin. 6 months after the great battle above Nexus Prime, the trials began. The once proud capital of galactic civilization had been rebuilt, but now it served a very different purpose. Where the Galactic Council had once debated the worthiness of various species, human tribunals now decided the fate of those who had abandoned innocent people to die. Sang Woo, Earth's chief prosecutor, stood before the tribunal chamber. The room was packed with survivors from dozens of species, not just humans but other races that had been dismissed and abandoned by the old galactic order. Representatives from the Kreks acid worlds, the Thane ice planets, and the Zul high-gravity system sat alongside human colonists who had barely escaped the Kethrak attacks. In the defendant's dock sat the former leaders of the Galactic Council. The Vextar Chancellor, no longer proud and arrogant, hunched in his chair with his forearms shackled. Beside him sat the bird-like Scary representative who had called humans too violent to protect, and the stone-faced Altari delegate who had suggested humans brought violence on themselves. "The charges," Sangwoo announced, his voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber, "are genocide through deliberate abandonment, conspiracy to commit racial extermination, and crimes against sentient life." The defendant's lawyer, one of the few alien officials who had actually tried to help humans during the crisis, stood nervously. "Your Honor, my clients acted according to established Galactic Council procedures." "Procedures," Sangwoo interrupted, "that were designed to allow certain species to die while others lived in safety." He activated the main display. Images filled the screen that made many aliens in the audience look away. The burning colonies, the dead children, the survivors huddled in refugee ships, while their worlds burned behind them. "The evidence will show," Sangwoo continued, "that the defendants had full knowledge that human civilians were being systematically murdered. They had the military capability to stop these attacks. Instead, they chose to debate legal technicalities, while 7,000 people died on New Busan alone." Jiwon took the witness stand. The former commander of New Busan's defense forces looked older now, her hair showing gray streaks that hadn't been there before the attack, but her voice was strong as she described the final days of her colony. "We sent 37 requests for help," she testified, "each one more desperate than the last. We told them about the children hiding in the shelters. We told them about the elderly who couldn't be evacuated. We told them about the Kethrak breeding programs and what they did to human prisoners." She looked directly at the Vextar Chancellor. "And you told us to file the proper paperwork." Chancellor's translator device made clicking sounds as he tried to respond. "The legal requirements were clear. We could not intervene without proper justification." "Proper justification?" Jiwon's voice rose. 7-year-old Minju Kim being fed to Kethrak larvae wasn't proper justification? Her baby brother being used for target practice wasn't enough? The chamber erupted in angry voices. The human survivors in the gallery had to be restrained by security forces. Several aliens in the audience looked sick as the full details of the Kethrak attacks were revealed. Minho took the stand next. The former engineer described the final hours of New Busan in detail, his voice steady despite the tears on his face. He told the tribunal about watching his neighbors torn apart by creatures that the Galactic Council considered a legitimate political entity. Yuna followed, describing her attempts to treat wounded colonists with no medical supplies while the galaxy's most advanced civilizations debated whether humans deserved help. Her testimony about trying to save children with her bare hands while alien politicians discussed legal procedures left the chamber in stunned silence. Finally, Dohyun testified about the escape from New Busan. The simple farmer turned refugee described carrying dead children to the shuttle while Kethrak monsters hunted the survivors through burning streets. "And where was the Galactic Council during all this?" Sangwoo asked. "Debating whether we were civilized enough to deserve rescue," Dohyun replied. When the prosecution finished presenting evidence, the tribunal chamber was silent except for quiet, sobbing from the human survivors. The defense tried to argue that the Galactic Council had acted according to established law. They claimed that the defendants couldn't have known how bad the situation really was. They insisted that military intervention would have been illegal without proper procedures. Sangwoo's response was simple. He played recordings of the emergency, transmissions from New Busan, the voices of children crying for help, parents begging for someone to save their families, colony officials describing atrocities in real time while asking for immediate military assistance. "They knew," Sangwoo said quietly. "They knew exactly what was happening, and they chose legal procedures over human lives." The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all charges. The sentences were announced by Admiral Seojin himself, now serving as military governor of the former Galactic Council territories. The chamber was packed with representatives from every species that had suffered under the old system. "The Kethrak swarm," Seojin announced, "is declared extinct as a political entity. Their former worlds will be given to human colonists as reparations. Any surviving Kethrak individuals will be transported to reservation worlds where they cannot harm other species. The former Vextar Chancellor was brought forward in shackles. The Vextar Empire is dissolved. Their military assets will be distributed among the species they oppressed. Their leadership will be exiled to prison worlds where they will learn to survive with their own hands, something they mocked humans for having to do. One by one, the sentences were read. The Skari Commonwealth lost their status as a civilized species and were placed under human supervision. The Altari Union was broken up, their worlds distributed among refugee populations from the species they had abandoned. But the trials weren't just about punishment, they were also about establishing a new order. Hyung, the new human governor of former Vextar space, announced the Deathworld Doctrine. Any species that preys upon civilian populations will face total war, not negotiation. Any government that abandons innocent people to die will forfeit its right to exist. The doctrine was simple but absolute. The galaxy's new rulers would protect anyone who asked for help, but they would also remember anyone who refused to help others. Donghyuk, commanding the occupation forces on former alien worlds, made sure every alien child learned the new history. They studied the human colonies that had been abandoned. They learned about the species that had been dismissed as uncivilized. They memorized the names of every human child who had died, while the galaxy debated their worthiness. You will remember, Dongyuk told alien students, what happens to civilizations that mistake kindness for weakness. The trials revealed the full scope of human preparation. Jinwoo, head of Earth intelligence, testified about decades of planning. Every human smile in diplomatic meetings had hidden calculations about alien weaknesses. Every trade agreement had included secret clauses that provided strategic advantage. Every cultural exchange had been an intelligence-gathering operation. We knew this day would come, Jinwoo explained to the tribunal. We knew that eventually the galaxy would show its true nature, so we prepared. The evidence showed that humans had been ready for war from the moment they first encountered alien civilization. They had spent 50 years studying their potential, enemies while pretending to be grateful students learning from their betters. They called us Deathworlders like it was an insult, testified Cheong, now Admiral of the Human Colonial Defense Force. They didn't realize they were giving us the perfect cover for our real activities. The new galactic order was established on simple principles. Species that protected each other would be protected by humanity. Species that preyed on the weak would be eliminated without discussion. There would be no more debates about who deserved to live and who didn't. The final ceremony took place on the rebuilt colony of New Busan. The settlement was now a fortress world, its defenses capable of holding off entire alien fleets. But in the center of the military installations stood a simple memorial. 7,000 names were carved into black stone. Men, women, and children who had died while the galaxy looked away. At the bottom of the memorial, a single inscription: to those who died calling for help while the galaxy debated their worth. Your deaths were not in vain. They taught us who our real enemies were. Jaiwan, now promoted to Marshal of Colonial Defense, spoke at the dedication ceremony. Survivors from dozens of attacks stood behind her, along with representatives from every species that had been dismissed by the old galactic order. They thought we were primitive, she said. They thought we were violent. They thought we were unworthy of protection. She looked out at the faces in the crowd. Human, Krex, Thane, Zool, and dozens of other species that had found safety under human rule. They were right about one thing, she continued. We are violent, but we save our violence for those who prey on the innocent. The memorial was dedicated as the sun set over New Busan. In the growing darkness, the lights of the human defense fleet could be seen orbiting overhead. Ships with names like Vengeance, Justice, Remember the Fallen, and Never Again. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When Death W. Admiral Seojin stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Terra's Wrath as the largest fleet in galactic history approached. 800 alien warships spread across space like a metal storm cloud. The combined forces of 23 different species, all united in their fear of humanity. Admiral, reported Captain Taehyung. "They're demanding we surrender immediately. They say we're outnumbered 25-1. Seojin looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was impressive, the pride of dozens of civilizations working together, but they had no idea what they were really facing. "Open a channel to all alien vessels," Seojin ordered. The communication screen activated, showing the bridge of Terra's Wrath. Behind Seojin, the massive ship stretched away into darkness, its hull scarred from battles the aliens had never even known about. "This is Admiral Seojin of the Terran Defense Force," he said. "I address the combined fleets of the Galactic Council." On the alien flagship, the Vextar fleet commander chittered nervously. "Human Admiral, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Your terrorist actions against peaceful civilizations will not be tolerated." Seojin's expression didn't change. "Peaceful civilizations? You mean the same civilizations that let our children die while you debated whether we deserved to live?" "That was a legal matter. The Council has procedures." "You had your procedures," Seojin replied. "Now you get ours." He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. "Jihoon, show them what a real Deathworld weapon looks like." The Terra's Wrath fired once, but this wasn't like any weapon the galaxy had seen. Instead of energy beams or missiles, it released something that twisted space itself. The fabric of reality bent around the alien fleet's center formation. 20 alien ships simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized. They were erased from reality, as if they had never been built. The remaining alien fleet stopped advancing. Panicked voices filled the communication channels. "What was that weapon? How is that possible? They're manipulating space-time itself." "Admiral," the Vextar commander transmitted, his voice shaking. "That weapon is illegal under all galactic treaties." Seojin smiled coldly. "We never signed your treaties. We were too primitive to be included, remember?" The human fleet spread out around the aliens. 37 ships against over 800, but the aliens were the ones who looked trapped. Captain Soo-young commanded the heavy cruiser Daegu's Fury, positioned on the alien fleet's left flank. Her ship had been disguised as a passenger transport for 5 years, carrying alien diplomats and their families across the galaxy. Those same aliens had often commented on how grateful they were that humans were so willing to serve in simple transport roles. Now they discovered what those transport ships really were. "Ma'am," reported her tactical officer Jaehyun, "the Kethrak battle group is trying to break away from the main formation." Soo-young's face hardened. The Kethrak. The ones who had murdered the colonists on New Busan. The ones who had started this war by thinking human lives didn't matter. "Follow them," she ordered. "Make sure they don't escape." The Daegu's Fury accelerated, revealing speed that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The Kethrak vessels were fast, but human technology had advanced far beyond anything. The aliens understood. Within minutes, Soo-young's ship had caught up with the fleeing Kethrak. Their leader transmitted desperately, "Human vessel, we surrender. We offer full reparations for the New Busan incident." "Too late for that," Soo-young replied. "You should have thought about reparations when you were killing our children." She turned to her crew. "Remember what they did to our people. Show them the same mercy they showed 7-year-old Minju Kim and her baby brother." The Daegu's Fury opened fire with weapons that turned the Kethrak ships into expanding clouds of superheated gas. Every alien vessel in the battle group was destroyed in less than 30 seconds. Meanwhile, other human ships were demonstrating technologies that the aliens had thought were impossible. Captain Yunji's vessel, Gwangju's Vengeance, moved through space in ways that violated the known laws of physics, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. "How are they doing that?" transmitted one alien commander. "Dimensional shifting," Yunji explained, cheerfully over the open channel. "We learned it from studying your impossible science textbooks. Turns out they weren't impossible after all. You just weren't smart enough to figure them out." The alien fleet was falling apart. Ships that had never faced real combat in centuries of peace were being destroyed by weapons they couldn't understand, used by a species they had dismissed as primitive. On the bridge of Terra's Wrath, Admiral Seojin watched the battle with satisfaction. But this wasn't really a battle, it was an execution. "Sir," reported Taehyung, "we're receiving surrender signals from the entire alien fleet." "Denied," Seojin said immediately. "Sir? They had their chance to surrender when our people were begging for help. Tell them to prepare for judgment." The remaining alien ships tried to retreat, but human vessels surrounded them on all sides. There was nowhere to run, and the aliens finally understood that this had never been about conquest or territory. This was about justice. Captain Sunmi's ship Soul's Shadow moved through the alien formation like death itself. Her vessel had spent years studying alien military tactics, learning their weaknesses, preparing for this moment. "Captain," her crew reported, "the Altari flagship is requesting terms for honorable surrender." "Honorable?" Sunmi laughed bitterly. Was there honor in letting human children die while they debated legal procedures? She opened a channel to the Altari flagship. "This is Captain Sunmi. I was at New Busan when your council voted to abandon us. I watched 7-year-old children crying for their parents while your people decided we weren't worth saving." The Altari commander's stone-like face showed the first emotion Sunmi had ever seen from his species. Fear. "Captain, surely we can—" "Negotiate. The time for negotiation ended when you chose legal procedures over human lives," Sunmi interrupted. "Now you face the consequences." The Soul's Shadow fired its main weapon. The Altari flagship, pride of one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, broke apart like it was made of paper. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as each human captain remembered the faces of the aliens who had voted to abandon their colonies. The bird-like Skari who had called humans too violent to protect. The crystalline Zephyri who had suggested humans brought violence on themselves. The aquatic Delians who had said Deathworld species deserved whatever happened to them. One by one, their ships were destroyed. "Admiral," Taehyung reported quietly, "the alien fleet is completely destroyed. No survivors." Seojin nodded. "Good. Send a message to every government in the galaxy. Tell them what happened here. Tell them this is what happens to species that think human lives don't matter." But the battle above Nexus Prime was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, human forces were demonstrating the same lesson to any alien government that had participated in abandoning human colonies. On the Kethrak, homeworld, Captain Jehoon's bombardment fleet hung in orbit like dark stars. Below them, the creatures that had murdered thousands of humans huddled in their cities, finally understanding what it felt like to be helpless. "Sir," reported his weapons officer, "the Kethrak planetary government is offering unconditional surrender. They're begging for mercy." Jehoon thought about the children of New Busan, about the families torn apart while the galaxy watched and did nothing, about the council members who had decided human lives weren't worth protecting. "Mercy?" he said quietly. "Did they show mercy when they were feeding human prisoners to their young?" "No, sir." "Then they've already received all the mercy they deserve." The bombardment began. From orbit, human weapons reached down to touch the Kethrak homeworld. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to glass and shadow. The species that had thought humans were weak prey learned too late that they had awakened something far more dangerous than anything they could imagine. The same scene played out on dozens of worlds. Every species that had voted to abandon human colonies, every government that had decided Deathworld species weren't worth protecting, every civilization that had thought humans were primitive and harmless. They all learned the same lesson. When you anger a Deathworld species, mercy becomes a luxury you can no longer afford. Within a week, the galaxy's power structure had completely collapsed. The Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime lay in ruins. The proud fleets of 24 civilizations floated in space as debris fields. Entire species had been reduced to scattered refugees begging for mercy from the humans they had once dismissed, and, in the depths of space, Admiral Seojin's fleet continued its work, carrying out justice for every human child who had died while the galaxy looked away. The age of alien supremacy was over. The age of human judgment had begun. The galaxy changed in a single day. Across hundreds of star systems, the humans that alien species had known for 50 years suddenly became someone else entirely. Captain Wu Jin stood on the bridge of what had been the cargo ship Busan Trader just hours before. Now the vessel showed its true form, a heavy cruiser bristling with weapons that no alien had ever seen. His crew worked quietly at stations that had been hidden behind fake cargo bay walls for years. Captain, his tactical Officer Gina reported, "We're receiving surrender signals from 3 Vextar patrol ships." Wu Jin looked at the screen. The alien vessels hung motionless in space, their weapon systems powered down. Yesterday, those same ships had treated human vessels like dirt. Their crews had inspected human cargo holds with arrogant sneers, making jokes about primitive Deathworlder junk. "Are they armed?" Wu Jin asked. "Yes, sir. Standard Vextar military configuration." "Then they're not really surrendering, are they?" "They're just afraid." Wu Jin turned to his weapons officer. "Na Yung, show them what human weapons can do." The Busan Trader fired once. The energy beam that emerged was like nothing the galaxy had seen before. It didn't just destroy the lead Vextar ship, it turned it into expanding gas in less than a second. The other 2 alien vessels began transmitting frantically. "Please, we surrender, we truly surrender." "Too late for that," Wu Jin said. 2 more shots, 2 more clouds of gas where proud alien warships had been moments before. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Near the Altari homeworld, Captain Sunmi's ship Soul's Shadow had been pretending to be a simple research vessel for 3 years. The Altari had barely noticed it, thinking humans too primitive to threaten their advanced civilization. Now, the Soul's Shadow revealed arrays of weapons that made Altari military technology look like toys. Sunmi's crew had been watching and learning, mapping every Altari military installation, studying their tactics and preparing for this day. "Ma'am," reported her science officer Do-hyun, "the Altari defense fleet is moving to intercept us." "How many ships?" Sunmi asked. 23 heavy cruisers, 47 destroyers, and their flagship dreadnought Stone of Ages." Sunmi smiled. "Just one fleet? They really don't understand what they're dealing with." She activated her communicator. "All human vessels in the Altari system, this is Captain Sunmi. Execute Plan Deathworld." Across the star system, ships that the Altari had thought were peaceful human traders suddenly revealed their true nature. Research stations activated weapon systems that had been disguised as scientific instruments. Mining operations turned out to be military bases with enough firepower to crack planets. The Altari fleet found itself surrounded by enemies that had been hiding in plain sight for years. "This is impossible," transmitted the Altari fleet commander. "Humans don't have this kind of technology." "You never bothered to really look at us," Sunmi replied. "You saw what you expected to see." The battle was over in minutes. The mighty Altari fleet, proud defenders of one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, was destroyed without damaging a single human ship. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species shouted at each other in the Great Chamber. Some demanded immediate military action against the humans. Others begged for negotiations. A few were quietly trying to leave the planet. The Vextar Chancellor stood in the center of it all, his 4 arms gesturing wildly as he tried to maintain order. "This cannot be happening. Humans are primitives, barbarians. How do they have weapons that can destroy our fleets?" Ambassador Hyunwoo walked calmly into the chamber. Alien security forces moved to stop him, but they found their weapons wouldn't work. Human agents had taken control of the building systems hours ago. "Honored council members," Hyunwoo said, his voice carrying clearly through the chaos. "I bring greetings from the real human government." The Chancellor pointed at him with one clawed hand. This is your doing. You've been lying to us for decades." "Not lying," Hyunwoo corrected. "Just letting you see what you wanted to see. You thought we were grateful primitives who needed your guidance. We let you believe that while we prepared for the day you would show your true nature." "Our true nature?" squawked the bird-like representative from the Skari Commonwealth. "You're the ones revealing your true nature. Violence, destruction. This proves we were right about Deathworld species." Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. "Our children were being murdered. We asked for help. You refused. What did you expect would happen? On his wrist communicator, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human agents were seizing control of alien government buildings, communication networks, and military installations. Alien fleets were being destroyed by human ships that had been hiding among them for years. The Kethrak homeworld is under siege, reported one voice. Captain Jihoon requests permission to begin surface bombardment. Granted, Hyunwoo said calmly. The aliens in the council chamber stared at him in horror. You're going to destroy an entire world? The chancellor whispered. They destroyed New Busan, Hyunwoo replied. They killed 7,000 humans, including children. What happens to them now is justice. Another report came through his communicator. Sir, this is Agent Kyung-soo on Vextar Prime. The planetary government is requesting terms for surrender. No terms, Hyunwoo said. They had their chance for mercy when our people were dying. The chancellor fell back into his chair. This isn't possible. You're just one species. The entire galaxy will unite against you. Hyunwoo laughed, and the sound made several aliens step backward. Chancellor, you still don't understand. We're not just one species anymore. He activated his communicator's main display. The hologram that appeared showed star maps from across the galaxy. But these weren't the usual maps showing peaceful alien territories. The Kreks from the acid worlds have revealed their true fleets, Hyunwoo announced. It turns out they weren't the simple miners you thought they were. The map showed the Kreks territories, where alien military bases were being overrun by creatures that could survive in environments that would kill most galactic species in seconds. The Thane from the ice planet send their regards, Hyunwoo continued. They've been watching your civilized species grow soft while they stayed hard. More territory on the map changed color as the Thane revealed fleets of ice ships that could operate in conditions no other species could survive. The Zool from the high-gravity worlds have also decided they're tired of being treated as second-class citizens. The map showed Zool forces moving through space in ships built to withstand gravitational forces that would crush normal vessels. The Chancellor looked at the map in growing horror. You planned this, all of you. The Deathworld species have been planning this for decades. We learned from you, Hyunwoo said. You taught us that the galaxy only protects those it considers civilized. You showed us that species like ours will never be accepted as equals. So you decided to become conquerors instead. No, Hyunwoo corrected. We decided to become survivors. Across the galaxy, the reports kept coming in. Human ships were appearing, everywhere, revealing technology that was generations ahead of what the aliens possessed. The primitive humans had not only been hiding their true capabilities, they had been advancing far beyond anything the galaxy thought possible. On the bridge of the massive dreadnought Terra's Wrath, Admiral Seojin watched the tactical display as human forces took control of one star system after another. The ship was so large that it had its own gravity, so advanced that it could move between star systems in ways that broke the aliens' understanding of physics. Sir, reported Captain A. Taehyung, we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different alien governments. Are any of them the ones who voted to abandon our colonies? Seojin asked. Yes, sir. Most of them. Then they can wait. We're not interested in surrender right now. The dreadnought moved through space toward the Nexus Prime system, followed by a fleet of human warships that darkened the space around them. The aliens had called humans dangerous. They had called them violent. They had called them unsuitable for civilized society. They were about to learn they had been right about all of those things. Sir, Taehyung reported, long-range sensors show the entire Galactic Council defense fleet moving to intercept us. Seojin looked at the display. Hundreds of alien warships from dozens of different species, all united in their fear of humanity. It was the largest military force the galaxy had assembled in centuries. How many ships, he asked. 843 capital ships, sir. Over 2,000 support vessels. Against our fleet of 37 ships. Seojin smiled. They still think this is about numbers. Should we call for reinforcements, sir? No need, Seojin said. Let's show them what Deathworld technology can really do. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. But it wouldn't last very long. Fleet Admiral Seojin received the message while standing on the bridge of Earth Defense Station 1. The massive structure hung in space above Seoul, looking down at the blue and white world below. Through the station's huge windows, he could see the shipyards that surrounded Earth like metal rings. The message was short, but it made his blood run cold. New Busan was gone. The Galactic Council had refused to help. 7,000 humans were dead or captured, and the aliens didn't care. "Sir?" Captain Taehyung stepped up beside him. The younger man had been waiting for orders, but Seojin had been quiet for several minutes. "Send a secure signal to all fleet commanders," Seojin said. "Code Red Alpha. Full activation." Taehyung's eyes went wide. "Sir, are you sure? Once we start this, the galaxy will finally see what humans really are," Seojin finished. "Yes, Captain. I'm very sure." Within an hour, the Council of Earth was meeting in the secure chambers deep inside the orbital station. 12 men and women who had been planning for this day since humans first met aliens 50 years ago. Minji, the Minister of Colonial Affairs, spoke first. "The alien response was exactly what we predicted. They see us as violent animals. They think we deserve whatever happens to us." "Good," said Sunmi, the head of Fleet Intelligence. "It means our disguise worked perfectly. For 50 years, humans had been playing a careful game. When they first met the galactic community, Earth's leaders realized something important. The aliens were soft. They had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight real wars. But they were also arrogant. They looked down on any species that came from a dangerous world. So humans decided to give them exactly what they expected to see. Every human colony looked like a simple farming community. Every human ship seemed basic and primitive. Every human diplomat acted humble and grateful just to be allowed into galactic society. The aliens saw what they wanted to see, a young, harmless species that was trying to learn from their betters. But that was all a lie. "Show them the real numbers," Seojin told his aide. The room's main screen lit up with data that would have shocked the Galactic Council. Hidden shipyards throughout human space, military bases disguised as research stations, weapon development programs that had been running in secret for decades. "We have 430 major warships ready for immediate deployment," reported Admiral Kyung-soo, the head of fleet operations. "Another 800 support vessels, all equipped with weapons the aliens have never seen." "What about intelligence?" Seojin asked. Sunmi smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant smile. "We know everything about them, Admiral. Every major alien fleet, every defense station, every military base. We've been mapping their positions for 30 years. She activated another screen. It showed the galaxy with thousands of red dots marking alien military assets. "We have agents in every major government. The aliens think our people are just harmless traders and diplomats. They never suspected we were gathering intelligence." Taehyung looked amazed. "How did we hide all this?" "Easy," said Minji. "We gave them what they wanted to believe. They wanted to see primitive Deathworlders who were grateful for their guidance, so that's what we showed them." "Every human colony has hidden defenses," Kyung-soo added. "Every trade ship carries military scanners. Every diplomat reports back to fleet intelligence. We've been preparing for war while they thought we were learning to be peaceful." Seojin walked to the large window that showed Earth below. "They called us Deathworlders like it was an insult. They didn't realize it was a warning." The truth was that humans had never trusted the aliens. From the very beginning, Earth's leaders had been suspicious. The galaxy claimed to be peaceful, but they had rules about who deserved protection and who didn't. They talked about civilization, but they let entire species be wiped out if those species didn't fit their definition of civilized. "What about the other Deathworld species?" asked Nayoung, the Minister of Defense. "Already contacted," Sunmi reported. "Turns out we weren't the only ones the galaxy looked down on. The Kreks from the acid worlds, the Thane from the ice planets, the Zul from the high-gravity systems. They've all been watching and waiting too." "They're with us?" Seojin asked. "They're ready to move the moment we give the signal." Seojin nodded. The galaxy had made a mistake when they decided some species were worth protecting and others weren't. They had created their own enemies by treating entire groups as lesser beings. Sir, Taehyung said quietly. Once we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again. Good, Seojun replied. Trust is for equals. We're done pretending to be their grateful pets. He turned to address the full council. Ladies and gentlemen, for 50 years we have played the role of primitive newcomers learning from our wise alien teachers. We have smiled while they insulted us. We have thanked them for scraps while they treated us like animals. The room was completely quiet. Today, that ends. Today, they learn what it really means to anger a Deathworld species. Minji activated her communicator. All stations, this is Colonial Command. Execute Protocol Deathworld immediately. Across human space, the transformation began. Trade ships that had been hauling cargo for decades suddenly opened hidden weapon bays. Research stations activated massive sensor arrays that had been disguised as scientific equipment. Colonial defense forces revealed military hardware that was decades ahead of anything the aliens thought humans possessed. On the bridge of the cargo hauler Busan Trader, Captain Wu Jin watched his crew remove the fake hull plating that had hidden his ship's true nature. Underneath was a heavy cruiser equipped with weapons that could crack a planet. Sir, his tactical officer Gina reported, all weapon systems are online. The aliens still think we're carrying grain to the Vextar colonies. Perfect, Wu Jin said. Let's go introduce ourselves properly. Similar scenes played out throughout the galaxy. Human diplomats suddenly began jamming alien communications. Human researchers started seizing control of space traffic networks. Human traders revealed themselves as advanced warships. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Hyunwoo stood in his office watching alien security forces surround his building. They had finally realized that something was wrong, but they were too late. Ambassador, the Vextar Chancellor's voice came over the communication system. You will surrender immediately. You are under arrest for espionage. Hyunwoo smiled. Chancellor, I'm afraid you misunderstand the situation. He pressed a button on his desk. Throughout the alien capital, human agents who had been living normal lives for years suddenly activated. Communication networks went down. Transportation systems stopped working. Government buildings lost power. You see, Hyunwoo continued, we've been here all along, watching, learning, preparing. Back on Earth Defense Station 1, Admiral Seojun received reports from across the galaxy. Every human asset was reporting in. The transformation was complete. Admiral, Sunmi reported, all human vessels have revealed their true configurations. The aliens are starting to panic. Good, Seojun said. How long until the main fleet is ready to move? 6 hours, sir. The dreadnoughts are finishing their final preparations. And our message to the Galactic Council? Ready to transmit, sir. Seojun walked back to the window. Below him, Earth looked peaceful in the sunlight, but around the planet, the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen was preparing for war. Send it, he ordered. The message went out on all galactic frequencies. Every alien government, every news service, every military command would receive it simultaneously. The screen showed Admiral Seojun standing on his bridge with the might of human space spread out behind him. When he spoke, his voice was calm and cold. People of the galaxy, this is Fleet Admiral Seojun of the Terran Defense Force. For 50 years, you have known us as primitive Deathworlders who were grateful for your guidance. Today, you learn the truth. You refused to help our civilians when they begged for protection. You decided that human lives weren't worth saving because we come from a dangerous world. You made your choice. Now we make ours. The transmission ended, and across the galaxy, alien governments stared at their screens in shock. The primitive humans they had dismissed for decades had just revealed themselves as the most dangerous military force in known space. On Nexus Prime, the Vextar Chancellor tried desperately to contact his fleet commanders, but human agents had taken control of their communication networks. The only signals getting through were human battle songs and the sound of approaching war drums. The age of galactic peace was over. The age of human supremacy was about to begin.